I love the pumpkin spice latte, and I love cheesecake. So let's combine the two. All right, I'm trying to get a good angle on what it is I have in front of me right here, but first I want to mention that this part of the video is following a British recipe, so we're going to be using heathen units. That's how I've heard them described. Grams is what I'm talking about. I have 15 grams of cinnamon, 4.5 grams of ginger, 0.75 grams of clove, 1.25 grams of allspice, and then 3.5 grams of nutmeg. All of this right here is going to be our pumpkin spice mix, and then we're going to combine this with water, sugar, and pumpkin puree to make a pumpkin pie syrup. And now this part of the recipe is super easy, and we can kind of go back to using American units. So I'm going to add in 2 cups of water, 1 pound of demerara sugar. I've never used this before. Let's see how it works for us. I also hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. We're gonna add 4 heaping tablespoons of this pumpkin puree. And as you can see, I have a bunch left over, but pumpkin puree that isn't flavored is actually really good for dogs, so I'm gonna throw this in with some of Hudson's dinner. And then finally, a small trip back into European units as we add in 20 grams of pumpkin spice mix. Turn on the heat and start stirring. All right, this pot has been simmering for about 15 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the heat off. Now I need to strain what's in here. We're gonna do 2 passes. I have a regular fine mesh strainer here, and I'm just gonna take my ladle and I'm gonna drop the liquid into it. And this has a lot of stuff in it. It's very thick. You'll see that there's gonna be a whole lot of gunk in here. And yeah, you can see right now, this is all the gunk left over. So we're gonna go ahead, throw this out. This is the result of our first strain, and we're gonna do a second strain with the exact same device, pour it back into the pot, and I might end up doing a third strain. We'll see. All right, last attempt at straining. This is gonna be our third strain if it works out. I've got my V60, it's got a coffee filter in it. It's on top of this 1 cup measuring cup, and I am going to see how long it takes. If it takes an obscenely long time, I might give up. Or I might take Hudson for a walk and come back and hope that it's done. Okay, so that did in fact take an absurdly long time, but this is the final result. This is the clearest, thinnest pumpkin pie syrup I can possibly get. I've got about 1.5 cups, maybe a little bit more, and I'm really proud of it. So this is great, we're gonna use this. Let's move on to talk about coffee. So this is my espresso machine right here. It's the Breville Barista Express. It is not a professional espresso machine, but I have paid absurd amounts of money to try and make it behave like a professional machine. I'll explain. That has a grinder built into it. I never use it. I use this grinder over here. That's the Niche Zero, and it's very expensive. And it is professional grade. That could go in a coffee shop, and it would serve up professional grade espresso and all kinds of things around that. I have an Akaya lunar scale that I use to measure and time my espresso shots to make sure that they're coming out right. I have this little tamping tool here that has just the right amount of pressure to do a nice little clicking action, if you can hear that. I have a little needle tool that I use to redistribute the grounds. Listen, I'm obsessed about things sometimes. And this right here is the coffee I'm gonna use. This is Sightseer Coffee Space Cowboy Blend. It is my favorite coffee at the moment. It has really good fruity flavors. If you don't know what coffee is capable of, I highly recommend you buy this online. For this recipe, I'm gonna need 2 espresso shots, so here's the plan for each of them. I'm gonna measure and grind 16 grams of coffee and then put that into my portafilter. And after I do my protocol to get things nice and leveled and tamped down, I'm gonna use my espresso machine to extract 32 grams of total espresso, and then both of those shots are gonna go into the cheesecake mixture. All right, we're reaching the home stretch, so let's talk about our cheesecake filling. I have 3 packets of cream cheese here that I've brought up to room temperature using a water bath. I have some Greek yogurt. People like to use sour cream for their cheesecake filling. I'm using Greek yogurt because I made some Greek yogurt a couple days ago and I gotta use it. And then for the sugar content, I'm gonna use our pumpkin pie syrup. And then I've got 3 eggs that will go in towards the very end, some flour, which will go in at the very end. And then between the eggs and the flour, I will add our 2 shots of espresso. Again, tasting things. If it needs more coffee flavor, I may make another shot of espresso. All right, here we go. Block of cream cheese in the mixer. Go ahead and add in our Greek yogurt. Hudson's over here demanding that I give him some yogurt. Hold on, I see you. I see you. Yeah, I see you there. Are you ready? There you go. That's for you. Both people in this household get dessert today. All right, so with these two ingredients in, I'm gonna go ahead and lift our mixer up, and I'm gonna put it on a very low speed. I'd say maybe about 2. I'm running out of measuring cups, but I am gonna use this to pour in a half cup of the pumpkin pie syrup. I'm gonna lower this. I'm gonna use this, push some of this out. Now let's pick up the pace a bit. All right, at this stage, I'm gonna stop, lower the bowl, stick that in there for now. I'm gonna have sugar on standby. Gonna get a spoon, give things a stir, take it out. Let's give it a test. It needs more sugar. It needs more pumpkin pie flavor. And I'm gonna put another 1/4 cup of syrup. Take another taste test. A little more syrup. All right, so I'm actually gonna put between a 1/4 cup and a half cup right in there. We might end up using the whole thing. Let's taste it again. Ooh, that right there, that's good. I'm also gonna add just a tad little bit of vanilla just to give it a little bit more depth. Something about like that. And with things back up and running again, we're gonna add our eggs one at a time, making sure that we give time for the mixer to run for a good while in between each one. All right, now is the time for us to add our espresso. So we're gonna go ahead, add that in. We'll give it a little bit of a mix by hand. Scrape the walls of the bowl, get anything that might be hanging, raise the bowl back up. We'll go ahead and take the flour, and we'll very slowly add it to the mixture. Okay, all ingredients have been added to this. Now, I have not tasted this after the eggs, flour, and espresso. I'm gonna try to see if I can find a way to cook some of this mixture, maybe in the frying pan, I have no idea. Taste that, and then see if I need to add more coffee after. So after my taste test, this thing does need more sweetness. The coffee flavor is quite strong. I was not quite expecting that much coffee flavor, considering that it is 2 shots of espresso, but like this is also a lot of liquid. So I'm gonna add the rest of the syrup, or maybe half, I don't know. We'll just kind of play it by looks. Let's see, that's that much, a little more. I'm gonna mix that up. Okay, and with all that out of the way, let's talk about our graham cracker crust. Now, this is something I made by just simply pulverizing some graham crackers and mixing them together with melted butter. And you can see the crust doesn't cover all the edges. This is just covering the bottom. It's a very like home-style crust. I want to submerge all of the crust. Yeah, so we're gonna have a little bit of filling left over. All right, now I'm gonna carefully put this in the oven at 350 with a container of water on the lower rack beneath this for 45 minutes to 55 minutes. We'll keep an eye on it. All right, y'all. So it has been baking for about 45 minutes. Let's pull the rack out. There she is. God, that looks gorgeous. I love the color. Look at all that. All right, I'm gonna try to give that, let's see, scooch it on over. Give it a little bit of a jiggle. All right, it looks pretty set. All right, so that needs to sit in the oven for 1 hour with the door cracked open. And then when that's done, it's gonna sit on the stove top for 20 minutes. And then when that's done, it's gonna go in the fridge for at least 4 hours. But in this case, it's 9:30-ish. So it's gonna sit in there overnight. And we are gonna eat that for breakfast. It's the next morning. I have not had breakfast. I am gonna have cheesecake for breakfast, and I am very excited about it. But first, before I cut into this thing, I just want us to get a closer look at it because my God, I love how this looks. That right there is what we're looking at. We have this lovely little ring around the outside that's nice and brown. Not really sure what that is, but not worried about it. And then we have this wonderful color in the middle. It's like light brown, latte colored. It looks great. And it's only appropriate that I have this with my morning cup of coffee, which is the same coffee that I used for the cheesecake. How well did this little experiment go? Oh my God. Everything comes in waves. You taste the pumpkin, you taste the coffee, you taste the cheesecake. Everything just like layers on each other. And it's so good. Oh, and the graham cracker crust too. Oh, this is so good. This has worked out so unbelievably well. I mean, there wasn't a lot of room for failure anyway. It's a pumpkin spice latte cheesecake, but this is really good. Here's the best way to describe it. It is truly greater than the sum of its parts. It is something truly, truly awesome that works together in a synergistic way. Business lingo. I'm gonna have a great breakfast. I'm gonna have a great day. I'm gonna be so caffeinated, my feet aren't gonna touch the ground for 10 hours. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and finish this. I will post the recipe inspirations in the description of this video. I highly recommend making this, especially if you love the pumpkin spice latte, and there's no shame in that, by the way. So, until we see each other again, go cook something amazing, and I will see you next time. I just had to make sure there was more footage of me eating this in case any of you out there didn't believe me. It's so good!